formed by the ancient forces of wind, water, and time. These dunes are like no others in North America. They extend for 40 miles along the Oregon coast between Florence and Coos Bay. In 1972, Congress designated this 31,500-acre portion of the Siuslaw National Forest as a national recreation area in recognition of its unique value. The dunes are the largest expanse of coastal dunes in North America and one of the largest in the world. Some dunes can reach heights of up to 500 feet above sea level. There are numerous campgrounds in Oregon Dunes National Recreation Area. But no matter where you stay in the Oregon Dunes, you are likely to encounter three things: fun camping, loud people, and dirt bikes. Bring your earplugs because you are right next to the trails for off-road vehicles. Everyone seems to enjoy their visit here, other than the fact that it is so loud all the time. To see where the dunes came from, just look inland. They're essentially ground-up pieces of the Oregon Coast Range, worn away by time and weather and washed downstream to the ocean. Tides, currents, waves, and wind push the resulting sand back inland. Since this part of Oregon's coastline has a gentle slope, instead of the usual steep headlands, the sand spread inland as far as 2.5 miles. It's a thoroughly poetic and mysterious place. In fact, the seemingly endless sand dunes of the Oregon coast inspired Frank Herbert's epic 1965 science fiction novel. Dune is the best-selling science fiction novel of all time, and the series is a classic of the science fiction genre. The Dune saga is set in the distant future and taking place over millennia. It explores complex themes, such as the long-term survival of the human species, human evolution, planetary science and ecology, and the intersection of religion, politics, economics, and power. Herbert was born in Tacoma, Washington in 1920. He was fascinated by books and could read much of the newspaper before the age of 5. His career as a novelist began in 1955 with the serial publication of Under Pressure. It was then issued as a book titled The Dragon in the Sea. The story explored sanity and madness in the environment of a 21st-century submarine and predicted worldwide conflicts over oil consumption and production. It was a critical success, but not a major commercial one. Herbert came to Florence in 1957, planning to write an article about how the coastal Oregon city of Florence was under threat of being consumed by the nearby dunes that were being whipped across human structures by the coastal winds. He was awestruck by the power of the blowing desert sand. As he wrote in a letter, these waves can be every bit as devastating as a tidal wave. Starting in the 1920s, the U.S. Department of Agriculture ran a program to try and stabilize the dunes by planting European beachgrass. The hope was that its dense roots would hold the sand in place and prevent it from burying nearby cars and homes. Herbert wanted to document this battle between man and nature. Herbert finished his article on Florence, but it was never published. Instead, he began to dig deeper into desert ecosystems and human interactions with nature. The experience of seeing the dunes and the interaction between the people here and the environment they were living became the core idea of his novel. The Siuslaw Public Library is home to an archive of many of the original materials that Herbert collected to research his novel. It includes books such as The Sociology of Nature, a 1962 book on modern ecology, and The Changing Nature of Man, a book of historical psychology from 1961. The collection also includes books on Marxism, poetry, ethics, and hypnosis. It was the ecology of the desert Herbert witnessed in Florence that most inspired Dune's setting on Arrakis. Herbert saw how that interaction between people and the environment could result in chaos and unintended consequences. Dune tells the story of a civilization struggling to balance their relationship with an unforgiving natural world and the unintended consequences of their actions. Ironically, that same struggle is playing out today on the sand dunes of Florence. The efforts to plant European beachgrass did manage to hold the dunes in place, but what they discovered is that the beachgrass is also an invasive species. The amount of land that is covered by sand dunes is decreasing every year. It's a perfect example of the unintended consequences that inspired his novel. The sand dunes of the Oregon coast retain the majesty that inspired Frank Herbert more than 60 years ago. You can still feel the alien landscape of Dune every time you visit. The similarities can be so uncanny, that you might start thinking whether your steps are too regular and modify them so as not to attract the attention of sandworms, the giant fictional creatures living beneath the sands of Arrakis. Next time you're traveling along the Oregon coast, take a moment to visit the Oregon Dunes National Recreation Area. Not only is it a unique and unforgettable outdoor experience, it is also a reminder of our relationship with the environment. If you have any suggestions for future Oregon adventures you'd like to see, then why not add a comment down below? Before you go, if you like this video and learned something new, please give a thumbs up and click on the like button. If you don't want to miss any upcoming videos, then please remember to click on the subscribe button. Thank you so much for watching.